Is the Canon PowerShot G7x Mark II worth buying in 2019? Or should you wait for the Canon PowerShot G7x Mark III? Let's talk about it. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, and I'm a big fan of Canon's G7x series of cameras. In fact, I have the G7x Mark I filming this video, and right here is the G7x Mark II. So far there have only been two cameras released in this series, with the Mark II being released in late 2016, but there's a lot of rumors kind of swirling around about a Mark III coming out soon, and a lot of analysts are suspecting that it's going to be coming out in late 2019. Possibly in the fall. So what I'm hoping is that by the time you finish watching this video, you'll have a good idea on if you should just go ahead and get the G7x Mark II, or if you should hold out a little bit for the Mark III. Now clearly I'm a big fan of the G7x series of cameras, considering that I've been using the G7x Mark I for most of my YouTube videos that I've been putting out over the last few years, and I recently got this Mark II in the office here to create this video. I just didn't really see enough of a need to upgrade from my Mark I to the Mark II, just because there aren't that many big differences between the two cameras. They're very similar, in fact. But with these rumors that have been coming out about the Mark III, I'm starting to get pretty excited, and I might upgrade eventually. So I watched this YouTube video by Gabe Tran, and he did a great job explaining the leaks that have come out about the Mark III. I'll be leaving a link to his video in the video description. But essentially, with the Mark III, we're going to be getting two major upgrades. And again, these are rumors. These have not been completely confirmed, so we'll have to see when the camera is actually announced. But allegedly, the G7x Mark III is going to have 4K video recording, which makes sense. I could totally see them doing that. And the G7x is going to have a microphone in port. Now that's a huge thing. I know that there's a lot of people that are looking for a camera with a microphone in, and overall it's a very sought after feature for point and shoot cameras, and there's really no good solution out there. So clearly, if this proves to be true, Canon has really been listening to their critics out there and their fans, because this is really just something everybody wants. So allegedly the port for the microphone in would be on the side here, but I'm not really sure where the microphone would actually mount onto. In some of the leaks, it did look like there was some sort of area where you could mount a microphone on top, but keep in mind that a lot of people, when they're going to be using the camera for vlogging, are going to be flipping up the screen completely up, so that wouldn't really leave any room for a microphone on top. Unless Canon comes out with some sort of proprietary microphone that works with just the G7x Mark III, but of course that would be pretty lame. Probably the best thing that could happen is some sort of adapter. Maybe it would go into the tripod mount here, and the adapter would have kind of like a cold shoe mount on the side where you can mount your microphone, and then it would plug right into the side of the camera. That's what I feel like would be probably the best solution. But then that would also make the whole experience a little bit clunkier, so I suppose that would be a compromise. Now I know for sure that the successor to the G7x Mark II is definitely going to have 4K. That makes a lot of sense. 4K is the future. That's really the way that things are going. I know a lot of people don't really watch videos in 4K, but more and more televisions are coming out with 4K, and YouTube videos can be played in 4K. So I think overall, by getting a camera with 4K built in, you'll really be future-proofing yourself. With that said though, I don't think that's necessarily a deal breaker. If you don't think you're going to be using 4K a whole lot, then I think you'll be perfectly happy with 1080p. And the cool thing about the Canon PowerShot G7x Mark II is that it has 1080p at 60 frames per second, and it's super clear. Towards the end of the video, I'm going to be showing you some of the samples that I recorded recently, now that I've had a chance to kind of play around with the Mark II. As for having a mic in port on the Mark III, I certainly think that's something that will be used by a lot of people out there. I know for me personally, if I had a Mark III, I would be using that mic in port. Right now, I use a Zoom H2N to record all of my audio. This here is a wire that's connected to a lapel mic that is connected to my shirt. And then this records into an SD card, which I then plug into my computer. And then when I go in to edit the audio, that's when I combine the audio recording that's been saved to this microphone, and I combine it with the footage that's been filmed with my G7X. So that's a lot of extra work. Of course, if you could just have your microphone plugged directly into the camera itself and have that audio be mixed in with the video natively on the camera, then that would make the editing process a lot easier and would just make really everything overall a lot easier. So I think that's a genuinely great thing for Canon to implement if they decide to do it. However, if you're just getting started with video, or if you really just don't see yourself using an external microphone, then I wouldn't let that scare you away from getting the G7X Mark II. And despite the G7X Mark II being released in late 2016, it's still a very great camera, and it's certainly not outdated at all. And that's funny because this actually has a lot of the same specifications as the original G7X Mark I. It has the same lens and sensor, the 3-inch flip-up LCD touchscreen is the same size, and overall the two cameras look very much alike. The main upgrades that came with the G7X Mark II over the Mark I are better image processing, an upgraded DI-GIC7 processor, and a slightly improved design here with a flip-out screen that kind of folds out more rather than just being a straight up flip, if that makes sense. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility here with the screen itself. Now, price is also a big factor here. So the G7X Mark II is currently being offered for $649. I've also seen that the G7X Mark I has been offered in kind of the $500 range. And I also know that depending on where you go, you might be able to find these cameras available refurbished, and you'll be able to save some additional money. But if you want to see the most up-to-date pricing, I will be leaving a link in the video description. Now, there's no guarantee that the Mark III is going to be launched in the fall of 2019. So if it's not launched in 2019, then you're just going to keep waiting and waiting. So if I were you, I'd probably just go and get the Mark II. I know that having 4K and a microphone in port are two very nice upgrades with the Mark III, but do you really want to be waiting like all year for the Mark III to come out? I know I wouldn't want to be. You know, you could start creating content now instead of waiting in the future. And of course, if the Mark III ends up coming out relatively soon, you could always go ahead and sell your Mark II, whether that's on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, or wherever your favorite place is to sell used cameras. I think the most important thing to know is that the G7X is such a solid camera, and it's worked so well for me especially. I mean, I cannot endorse it any more than I've endorsed any other camera that I've owned before. It just has really great and fast autofocus. It's awesome for doing review videos like this one, as you can see, since I'm filming this video with my G7X Mark I. And it's just a really great, well-designed product from Canon. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, subscribe to my new camera review channel called Camera Review Pro. I'm going to be putting more content on that throughout the year, so I'm really excited for that. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Will you be waiting for the G7X Mark III, or are you going to go ahead and buy a Mark II? Or do you already own a G7X, whether it's the Mark I or Mark II? Let me know in the comment section below, as I'd love to know. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, doing a test video with the Canon G7X Mark II. I'm filming in 1080p at 30 frames per second. There's also a 1080p at 60 frames per second as an option. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here doing a test video with the Canon G7X Mark II. I've been an owner of a G7X Mark I for quite a while now, and I've been a big fan of it, and it's been a really good camera for me.